Hello my fellow hunters and One Piece players. We will be covering my second deck that I use in Op13, which is Red Shanks. So our first card is 4 copies of 1 cost Uta. This is our main searcher of the deck. This card can search any red-haired pirate cards, which is our go-to for our first turn. So our next card is 4 of 1 cost Otama. This is a 2k of the deck, and on play it gives one opponent's characters minus 2000 for the turn. So it is decent because Shanks is more of a KO deck. So this helps us lowers characters' attack. Then we play 4 of Hongo, which is another 2k for the deck. This card, activate main, if your leader is Red-Head Pirates type card, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 2000 for the turn. So this can also help you KO characters, because it gives your opponent's characters minus 2000, but it's mostly there just for 2k. The next card is 4 of Lucky Roo, our first blocker of the deck and also a staple. Its effect is, on KO, if your leader has the Red-Head Pirates type, get up to one of your opponent's characters with a base power of 6000 or less. So this is a very good blocker to have in Shanks. But this card is kinda dead into Emu, because the 5 elders cannot be KO'd by effects once they have 7 cards in trash. But this is a pretty good blocker overall, and you pretty much want to play this when you're going second. Our next blocker is 4 of 4 cost blocker Shanks. This is our best blocker in the deck. On your opponent's attack, you may trash 1 card from your hand. Give up to one of your opponent's leaders or characters minus 2000 power during this turn. So this card is really good into certain decks. But you have to be really careful because you have to discard a card each time you use this effect. So you have to use it very wisely. But you can also use it to unbrick your hand. As for other decks, this card is really good into Zoro and maybe Emu. Other than that, it is pretty much a staple blocker for Shanks. Our next card is 2 of PRBO2 Lucky Roo. On play, you may trash 1 character card with 6000 or more power, then draw 2 cards. This card pretty much helps us with draw, which Shanks struggles with, and it's also a blocker, but I kinda wish it was a 2 cost rather than a 4. But this is a 2 of in any Shanks build. The next card is 2 of 5 cost Yasop. This card is in here just in case we are forced to go first. So on play, up to when your leader gains 1000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. And also Don +1 when attacking, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 1000 during this turn. So this is good when you're attacking, so you can lower some attack power of some blockers. But it's mainly in here because just in case we are forced to go first. Because Shanks is a going second deck, so going first with and playing Yasop, we can make our leader 6k for 1 turn, which can help. Now it's time for the final 2k of the deck. 4 of 6 cost blocker Uta. This card is one of the best 2Ks in red. and its effect is, if you have a character with 10,000 power or more, give this card in your hand -4 cost. So you essentially play this out for 2 cost when you've got your 10k or 12k beaters on the board. But it is also 2k, which makes it really good, and this is pretty much a staple for most red decks. Like, I play this in my red blue ace, for example. The next card is 4 of PRBO2 Trafalgar. This card is a staple for Shanks and also other decks like green and red smoker. This card is pretty good. If this card will be removed from the field by your opponent's effect, you may give this character -2k during this turn instead. So this character can stick to the board, but it's when his attacking effect is also really good. When attacking, give up to one of your opponent's characters -2000 power during this turn. So this actually works well with a lot of cards in this deck. There's actually a combo with this with other cards that can easily remove your opponent's cards. You can remove problematic blockers or even remove some huge bodies. But you usually pair this with either a Newgate or with a Ben Beckman. But this is an easy 4-off in this deck because it really needs it. So the next card is 4 copies of Ben Beckman. This is a staple for any Shanks deck, and this is one of our combo pieces that works off the lore. So basically on your 6th dawn turn, you play out the lore, then the next turn you swing with the lore, minusing something down to 5k or 6. And then after that you then play the Ben Beckman, which on play trash up to one of your opponent's characters with 6000 power or less. So if you drop any character to 6 or below, this can trash it, which can overdo some KO effects because you're trashing instead of KOing. So he's good removal, but because this is OP13, he's kind of a dead card into Emu, but he's still a 7k body. So you essentially want to build a strong board rather than trying to KO the board. But this and the lore together are really strong. And then our next card is 4 of Silver's Rayleigh. This card is a staple for most red decks that can run it. On play, select up to 2 of your opponent's characters and give one character -3000 power and the other -2 until the end of your opponent's next turn. Then KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 3000 power or less. So this pretty much drops attack of 2 characters on my opponent's board and can KO anything that's 3000 power or less. So you use this paired with the lore to drop massive characters down to 3k or just any blocker to 3k. So this is really good for board control, but since we can't KO stuff in Emu, it's still good to knock down the characters down by 3 and 2k, which then will prevent them from either going for game or destroying our board by running over it. But this card is an easy 4-off for any red deck or any Shanks deck really, and it's still one of the best cards in the deck. And for the next card we play 1 of 10 cost KO Shanks. On play, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 10,000 power or less. This card is pretty good in most matchups, but in OP13 it's only good in certain decks. this is not ideal for Emu or probably even Ace and Zoro, but for other decks in the format like Green Bonnie and maybe Sabo, this can be decent, but you can easily replace this with a 10 cost Roger. But this is just in here just in case I need it for a certain card, because you can use this to KO a Stussy in Emu, but it is really situational and can easily be taken out with something else. We also play 3 copies of 9 cost Shanks. Now the 9 cost Shanks is one of the better cards in the deck and is really needed for this format. If your opponent has a character with 8000 base power or more, this card gains -3 cost in hand, so you can play this out for 6 cost. And also on play, your leader permanently gains 2000 power into the end of your opponent's next end phase. So this buffs your leader to 7k, which is really good, because then will be 1000 power higher than Ace. We will be 2000 power higher than Emu, and then we'll be on even playing field with Roger. So if you chain these back to back, you can probably survive a lot longer. So you ideally want to play this as soon as you see it, but it requires your opponent to play a 8000 power body, which in this format a lot of them do, apart from maybe Emu, because it's very rare that Emu plays Stussy. So, but other than that, you can always play this on your 10 Don turn. And for our final character card, we play 4 of Red Shanks. This is our best card in the deck, mainly because of its effect, and also it has Rush. So when this card is played, all your opponent's characters lose 1000 power. So this is really good for board control, and also really good to lower your opponent's characters that are 5k and then they become 4k. It makes them harder to attack into your leader. So this is really good into Emu, because Emu doesn't really like rush characters, and with a -1k, all the elders will be on 4k when they're first played. But obviously it'll drop them down to 6 after they resolve their effect with one of the elders. So, but this is a card that you need for any red deck in this format. Like Roger plays this, and so does Shanks. But Shanks is not really meta right now, since this deck really struggles in this format. But this is a 4 of regardless. And then for the final card of the deck, we run 2 of Divine Departure, which is our only event in the deck. Main, you may rest 5 of your Dawn, KO up to one opponent's character with 8000 power or less. This is really situational, it really depends on what deck you're playing against. This is decent into Bonnie and maybe Zoro if it's still running the Mihawk, but this is really dead card into Emu. But you can use it as a counter to get our attacks, which is what we're going to be mostly use it for. So this is my deck list for Shanks in OP13, even though the list hasn't really changed that much since OP12. But this is a deck that I have topped in a treasure cup when I came in top 8 in OP12 format. So this is one of my favourite decks. But in OP13 it doesn't really see any play, mainly because it can't keep up with Ace, Zoro and Emu. But it can still be played at locals like just fine. Just maybe not take it to a event. So this was my deck list for Shanks in OP13. And my next deck list will be Green Yellow Yamato for OP13 format. And if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and share it with your friends. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.